Hey, mortals, Zach here. So this is our Patreon downtime that we do after every episode where we go over everything. And this was like a lot of lore in this episode and a lot of stuff we went through. And then we had like a 3 week break or something where we didn't play. So this episode, we kind of like step by step went through everything. And that served as a recap for us before we played. And we thought that'd be beneficial for you guys as well. Plus, we just didn't want to have to like cover it again in the pre-episode recap. So we just thought we'd release this for everyone. And yeah, if you enjoy this kind of stuff, you should check out our Patreon because we do this for every episode, including all the episodes. Josh was here with us. So yeah, if you enjoy this, check that out. Thanks.
Mortals and portals.
Mortals and portals.
Mortals and portals.
Mortals and portals.
Hello, and welcome to the Downtime edition of Mortals and Portals, where we react to the most recent episode. Normally when we do this, it's like right after we recorded it, just fresh off the session, but last time our session ran long, we were really tired, so we decided to record that later, which is now, so yeah, do that math. And so it's been like a few weeks since we've played because of like scheduling conflicts. And Ryan's miming me talking right now.
I feel like I'm doing a good job
delay.
too.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's only a little distracting.
It helps that he's also shirtless.
Yes, absolutely. He's shirtless. Cool tattoo, bro. So yeah, this is also serving as like us remembering what happened before we play the next episode. So it's like it works out well. And also Josh had like something to take care of with family, so he had to leave. Like, so he didn't actually hear like,
as in like you might have heard my family just a second ago.
Yeah, baby help needed help
as they were leaving.
Is that what that was?
What the heck?
Yes. I tried to mute my mic, but there's a good chance you may have caught the sound of a 4-year-old slowly
That's all
walking
on
away.
Joel. It's all Joel's problem. So don't
I thought someone's
about
house was haunted with the little girl.
So some of this is also to tell Josh what happened before we play. So it's So we're gonna kind of go through that. It might be a little different than how we normally do it since we're kind of remembering it in real time. But the episode started with Reynard. You were in the temple basically with this evil guy and all these undead soldiers around you, and you were powerless. You couldn't move. And then all of Digsby's crew showed up, and then they ran into Zig. So yeah, you got to see Zig again. Dax, I don't know if you have any agenda with that, or now that he's in front of you, because the last time you saw him, he threw a grenade at you and took your friend Meeg and said he was going to kill him on the other side, and transported after backstabbing you basically for the job.
I gotta figure out where Meeg is, if he's even alive.
Yes.
Freaking dude.
He was all cocky, nonchalant. He jumped down. Oh, and then also like Waltz was going through this like cart that looked like it was transporting dead bodies, and he found a bunch of gear from
This episode went from like I feel great to I feel terrible so fast.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Yeah, because there's like signs of people, being dead bodies being transported, and you saw there were like soldiers from like where you were fighting in Mandaru. I think you took like a belt or something or a sheath for your sword. And then you guys followed Zig into this temple, and you saw all these undead soldiers, and Waltz could recognize that like some were goblinoids from that they're fighting in Mandaru, and then others were soldiers that were from like his homeland and that Eisenhome Alliance and stuff. So it looks like they're soldiers that were being taken from the battle in Mandaru and then being like resurrected essentially. And then found Renard crouched down, and then you guys got confronted by this same guy, and he was like asking like which of you was a keeper, because you came through the node on a day where the node wouldn't align, and you guys were like, I don't know who the keeper is. So then he invaded your minds, because this is clearly the same guy from Dax's origin that invaded Dax's mind. And yeah, we kind of went through all of you one by one. So we started with Renard, and that was kind of like a way of doing an origins episode for Renard.
That moment. Okay, I don't want to interrupt. You can keep going. I feel like you're
good.
rushing through it.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I remember, those inflatable like games that people would get and play at like events and stuff.
Yes.
I remember being at the top and seeing a bunch of the big kids like on this big inflatable like 20-foot slide. They would jump off of it and bounce off the bottom, and I was like,
Nice.
I'm gonna do that. And I'm just a kid. I jump off the top, and I have this moment of just pure sheer elation of like flying. And I fall, and I land so terribly. I knock all the wind out of my back, and I can't move my neck for like a week. I sprained my I like
As a child.
yeah, I like sprained my like ribs or spine or something. I can't remember exactly what happened, but like I was turning my neck like Batman for a week. I feel like this episode reminds me of that.
You're like, ooh, fun. Oh wait, no.
I'm like, yeah, like we're a team. Like I like these guys. Like we're gonna do stuff. We're gonna save the world. No.
Right, yeah. Undead soldiers. Oh my gosh.
Ow, 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 ow. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, and
I
it's
also
just
pictured
pretty
you just like
intimidating.
ending that story with, I just wanted to share that story with you guys.
Yeah,
and not like
Just
connecting
felt
the
like
dots.
No.
Hey, this one time when I was a kid.
If I could
cut
belabor
that.
the point, yeah, no, that's I but like to be specific, like that whole like running through Reynard's backstory, really honored that we got to explore that. That was super cool, really grateful. But also like I'm remembering all the different origins you guys did, and specifically I feel like Taryn did like he like had to jump between kid Taryn and like adult Taryn several times, and he did that so well. I was like, that's really hard. Like that's really hard to do. I didn't realize how difficult that is to like flip it like that. But like, yeah, I kept checking myself. Like, am I talking normal? Am I talking like
Yeah, you did a
kid?
young
Like,
Renard voice. So like when you were in the training, you seemed more like bashful and less
Oh
confident.
yeah, it was perfect.
I really liked that you did that.
that was that was one of the hardest role playing challenges I think I've ever had. Like on
It's
mic,
fun.
that was really but it, like, yeah, so super fun. But like, I don't feel like enough props is given to like how good you guys pull that stuff off. Like,
Oh, dude, Zach's really good at that. Between like Glorm and Whisk,
Oh,
like
yeah,
always
there's
bouncing
the-
back and forth between.
Yeah, I don't
those
know
Yeah,
how
guys.
maybe
you do
tame
that.
one character to
I-
me. Like if
you know
one
what's
said
funny?
something,
I
then
never
the other
clocked
had to
that.
respond.
Like I never
Yeah.
clocked that either. I think you just like give a DM so much like yeah, well they have to do that. They're good at it. But like, it's like,
Right.
dang, it's good. It was great.
Yeah, there'll be
Um,
times when Zach's bouncing between like 3 characters, and it's like
That's when I
seamless,
just
you
make
know?
one of them leave. He's like Benjamin's like, that'll just get me out of this story, so I'm gonna go.
Ooh,
There'll
then
be times. Go ahead.
go. So I was just gonna say like the Danya Lara's line at the end there.
Is that
Like,
your wife?
Yeah, when you were like I know you'd haven't always stuck the landing, but you did stick that. It was like,
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I hate our
That was
guy.
cute.
Oh,
Flirting
that
with
was-
Josh right now.
Jeez.
That
Oh.
was smooth.
Listen, I am
I want
the
more of that.
I am the
Zach
D&D
are
player that like
nasty.
I will go into the like role playing romance with you
I got
like
Riz, bro.
on mic. I'm not afraid to. So that was like I was ready for
Got
it.
Riz.
Zach's been talking about that for a while too. He's
I was like, I can't wait to flirt
it's
with
a good
Josh.
outlet because he wants to flirt with you in real life, but he feels weird about it.
If,
you know?
Right.
if anybody listened to Sneak Attack, I tried so hard to get the DM Reed to like let me have a love interest, and he got so uncomfortable every time I tried.
Understandable. Knowing
Yeah,
Reed,
I get that.
I want to see
And
what
like
that would
I'm
look
looking
like
him in
just
the
because-
eye, and I'm like, I think that this dwarf is the dwarf for me, and he's like, stop, Josh, stop.
Suddenly,
We're not doing
an
this, buddy.
asteroid
We're not
strikes her
doing
and
this.
she's dead.
Not here. Not like this. Come on.
Quit trying to my dwarves.
Yeah, well, so that one was cool because like I definitely wanted Renard to have like a backstory, but like obviously we're leasing Josh, so we don't really. And last time we did an Origins, it was 4 episodes, so we didn't really have time for to risk that. And so what I did is I texted because Josh had spent time kind of building out a backstory for Renard, and then before we even started this, just to give me an idea of what his character is like, and I was like, hey, can you like synthesize what you think are the most critical moments and just give me like basically like a bullet point of that in chronological order.
Zach's
And then
like,
what
I don't have time to read a book
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
wrote about your OC.
It was more because I knew I was going to like move through them in a way that wasn't limited by like transitions, and because he's just sifting through your mind. And then I just broke them down and like what it said about Renard, because each time Gothar moved through one, he was like, oh, a man of conviction, like a trained warrior. So that's like him like learning what you are like from those moments, and then also making sure everyone knows who you are too, because like this is like kind of you're getting the Florida Vita and it's just like adding to the stakes of like knowing what
I guess, yeah,
you're fighting for.
Reynard was kind of an enigma. He was only what he told you guys, and he wasn't always honest. So there was a bit of a like, how much of this is bullshit?
Absolutely. Yeah, I just that was super cool. And then like he just built such a like deep, detailed character. Like you act like he's not that deep, you know, like at least he tries to act that way, but like he is, you know, and there's a lot of layers to his history, and you kind of get to see how you used to be friends with Raul and like kind of the first like betrayal he did, and get a little bit of glimpse of Ciudad de la Nubes.
Some
kinda what that's like.
some Naruto Sasuke vibes.
Yes,
Ooh.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Who are they?
Ryan's eyebrows
Ryan's
just
like,
went
Naruto?
halfway up his forehead.
In many ways, Don
Someone said
Renard is
Naruto?
like
Someone
an
said Sasuke?
ogre.
What's an ogre?
Don Renard.
Yeah, he's like an onion. Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
said ogre.
yeah, lots
Yeah.
of layers.
Shrek.
Which
Honestly,
are like
though,
onions, I guess.
Like the best, probably like talk about like we talk about like the hard stuff to role play, but like the easiest thing for me was when Ryan started calling Don Renard a dog. I was like, oh, I got this. Like I'm gonna chase that tail.
that was hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's
That
so
was
funny.
so good.
Dude, I actually totally forgot that you are.
That was just some
Kitsune
super
now.
fun like improv of you just being like, here you go, Josh. Here's something to mess with, and I'm like, I bet. Like I got it. Hold my beer.
Oh yeah, I forgot that he's a fox now too.
Yeah.
Foxy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Adam,
Josh
we're gonna
is wearing a
need
fox
we're
outfit
gonna-
right now,
Adam,
too, by the way.
So Adam, we're gonna need like a fox art. We're gonna need like the
All
Reynard
art.
with like with Dr. Robotnik mustache.
I want it to be
Yeah.
Animorph style.
Yeah.
All the
actually
standards
a
are
great
just
idea.
slowly
Turning into the Kitsune.
Oh man, that would be very cool.
Like the expressionless face that like slowly turns
Yeah.
into a frog.
And they're just like hideous in every point between
Dude.
the like
I was gonna
human
say,
and
I
animal
feel
form.
like most of those, I'd look at them and be like, all right.
I think
What
in
are they
one of
doing
those
here?
Animorph books, like a dude turned into a crab and then got cooked alive,
I've never actually read those books.
and that's
Happens
for
to the
like
best of us.
kids.
Are they good?
I don't think so.
Furiously
Crabs?
I think Googles they're pretty good.
Animorphs crab. Yeah, Ryan loves crabs.
I don't have
Um,
crabs. Is that what you're gonna say?
Big crab guy, Adam.
Yeah, so then
grab guy.
Gotham moved, from he's just started going through all your minds, and so we learned a few things about Dax, because he saw that Dax was chosen to be a keeper. He learned that about all you guys, but he was wondering like why Dax, like it didn't make sense to him. He's like he's just a scavenger, so he went as far back as he possibly could to Dax's birth, essentially from an egg. And he found this egg that had markings not typical of a kobold egg and was being clutched by the skeleton of a winged kobold, just covered in cobwebs, looked ancient. The egg was covered in dust, and it had this kobold had arrows, like arrow bolts in his back. And Gotham knelt down and determined that these were from his people, the first dwarves that ever arrived on Drakis, which became the Durga eventually. And just by seeing the style of the bolt, he said that this happened like recently after they arrived on the planet, meaning like when they hunted down Theragun, the last dragon. And then he surmised that this egg was taken like in that battle to ensure it survived, basically. And then a little Dax hatched out and ran off. So
Yeah, one of Theragun's first descendants, I would assume, is kind of what that's.
right. Well,
Tell us,
so
Zach.
all of it.
Give
I
us
mean,
all
it's
the
not new.
sneakies.
It would not new information that you're like a descendant of Theragun
Right.
because that's your like
Right,
dragon,
right.
but
Yeah.
like some sort of
More.
something different.
Yeah, interesting.
When you
Like what?
when you described him running off, I pictured Zoidberg from Futurama. Just going,
Yeah, I just pictured like one of those like tiny little lizards just like scurrying away. Like I don't know.
Did this happen after I had to like? Because it's probably not obvious in the episode,
I think-
but I did
yeah.
have to duck away really quickly.
Yeah.
Because babies were screaming.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll
And
do
I was like,
that.
luckily we got through your part. So
They were
Yeah,
little
yeah.
babies. They're just outside.
But how hard was it for
Where
you
these babies
guys
come
to
from?
like avoid egg puns?
exactly.
I don't think I did.
I
Wow,
didn't
that's
even
wow.
cross my
Wow.
mind.
remember if anyone.
You were that immersed in the
fell
in the
into
I
in
was
the, in
that
the moment.
immersed. I was in it.
Like
Mhm.
nobody was yoking, and all right.
No yokes.
Zach was
See, we
locked
needed you,
in,
Josh.
so we were
It's-
too busy playing soundboard.
Yeah, they're just
Too
making fart
busy.
sounds on the Discord soundboard the whole time.
That is probably
just trying my
true.
best to trudge
I'm waiting
through.
for that. I'm waiting for that moment where like there's like super sincere like sad moment where everybody's crying, and then someone plays like a fart sound.
Right. And there's also someone did a quack. It's also important to know that like when Gotham's in your mind, he's like, did I miss one?
I no, it's funny for me with that like that Zach feels the need to let the audience know that
Yeah,
someone did
no,
something.
right,
Because
Like,
we
as a-
react to it.
It's like when I'm watching Daniel Tiger with
Someone
my
did the
kids.
quack.
it's like the sign language gal in the corner. Like Zach's just like someone did a crack, and then he keeps
We're not
moving.
mature enough for it.
I don't remember if it's this episode that I'm editing now or the previous one, but it was so obvious that a sound happened that I had to go in and put it. Like I went and downloaded the sound and put it in the episode because it was like too
Oh my God.
too strongly to
I
it.
hope it
There's
was a good
something
sound.
like crazy meta about that. That's really funny. You're having to add sound effects because of our stupid
That is
soundboard.
a huge mug, Joel.
It is. It's great. It's full of
Oh, nice.
tea because my throat hurts.
Oh,
yeah.
buddy.
I get those throat.
I-
Yeah,
I
so
thought he was
I-
talking about your
I know
face.
there's probably more to cover that I didn't hear yet, but like and I don't want to make this go too long, but like did any of you guys anticipate like a keeper being a bad guy? Because that never occurred to me that could
Yeah.
No.
No,
that
I think
could be a
Tuff
thing.
specifically,
No, not at all.
or like maybe not a
asked
bad guy, but an
that
antagonist
view.
at least to the party. Like I don't know
Yeah.
it's necessarily like if he's a bad, but like
Well, I'm not surprised in the sense that Zach has created a strong antagonist that's just living in this gray area. Obviously,
Shocker.
he's got to be somewhat good because he was chosen as a keeper. But
does he?
he's obviously got his own agenda. I
We'll
don't know.
get
Yeah,
more of
our
that on the
keeper's
Tufts.
inherently
Just
good.
Vento
Tufts
Slim
memory.
all over again.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll shut up and keep listening because I still
Yeah,
have to
no, yeah.
catch up.
Because that
But yeah,
gets
it was
revealed
like
bit
a
later.
recent episode when you were telling us about keepers, Josh, that Tuff like specifically asked you if keepers could be bad guys, quote unquote.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I didn't realize that idea got seeded that early. That's crazy.
Mhm. That's good. Yeah. Look at that. Look
Dude.
how that works out.
Ryan with the receipts.
But yeah, as Gotham's going
That's why
through
we
each of your
record the
minds, he's
shiz
like
now.
picking up on like key things you did. So like for Dax, he was like specifically like he knows the word that was spoken to you when you went through the node. He said an Erikai, not on Desolus, so he knows like that Ryu, who he was, and if he knows what the prophecy is, then he knows the importance of that. And then he said Dunadas, so he knows Dunadas dead and you killed him and all that. And he says the Arcanor, Sindor, he knows who Sindor is. And then yeah, so then he goes into Waltz's mind and he's like, oh, the Fade. So the thing that like wiped out a bunch of his people, and he's like, oh, you fought a Mandaru, Drakes, you have divine magic, you heard the word Tradecious, visions of the future, the Gameltor, he knows you wield that. And then he goes into your memory when you're talking to your mom and she's telling you about the Gameltor, and you're learning more about it. And then he specifically was wondering why your mother would have the foresight that she was going to die to the Fade and choose to succumb to it. So he's very curious of that. And then also, what else will the Gameltor show you? So he's like very concerned about like what's being revealed to you, and what could be revealed to you in the future. So yeah, did you ever think about that? Like, did you ever wonder like why? Because I remember in the memory you told your mom like basically like, why don't you just come with me or whatever? And she's like, well, I know what I must do, and you know I know what you must do. And she said there's nothing you could tell her that she doesn't already know. So she already knew the Fade was coming and like died to it anyway. Do you think that's strange at all, Taryn?
No, it was I didn't really know how to take it. Like if it was her, if she was in that timeline but knew everything that was going to happen in time, or I don't know, it was a lot, and I don't think I had like a good enough grasp on like what exactly she meant. But that's what's like fun about it, because like when we do finally hit those big reveals, it's so cool. But I had no idea what she meant or like how to take any of that. So I was confused really about the whole thing.
Me too.
That was weird. The whole like that she seemed to have some kind of knowledge and power.
Yeah, and
she
it's
said
like
she
I don't even.
wields the Gameltor as well, which means she could see it in parts of the
Okay.
future.
Question, Zach, was that for real like planned beforehand, or did you just wrap that in because it made sense from this point as a DM?
That
Zach.
she succumbed to the Fade.
Because like when I'm DMing, like I have a campaign that's lasted over like 3 years that's like recorded, right? So like when you're publishing stuff, like canon gets locked in super hard. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, for sure.
there's been tons of times where I've done a little weird thing that the audience like super latched onto, or that the players were like, that was funky. And then like a year later, I'm like, I gotta come with a reason for why that was funky. Like I gotta like figure out like what was the purpose of that.
Well,
Like,
I definitely do that. That's not what happened here.
so that's really
because
cool. Like that, like, because
Yeah.
it's super satisfying when like you have a
I think the best example of when that did
A
happen
thread
and no
that's
one's
that
ever
long.
cared or asked
Yeah.
is I kept saying that the Drakes were he, but then I was saying that this is a place where they like export Drake eggs. And then so I wrote this entire justification for like why a male is more like crucial to egg fertilization than like a female. And I have Geldir like briefly say it at a campfire. I don't think anyone picked up on it,
You're
understood
covering
it,
your
or
back.
cared.
You're-
Because I was like, oh, they meant
he's
they're supposed
playing
to be she's,
3D
and I kept
chess.
saying he. Yeah,
Just to
and
cover
really,
your
it's
own
from the
butt.
movie.
That's
There's
hilarious.
a old movie
You're
called.
like, oh, shoot, I got to get this in here.
Before they
Yeah.
notice on the Discord, I have to figure this out.
There's a movie I forget what it's called. It's like it's with Christian Bale where dragons like take over the world.
Rain of Fire.
Yeah, Rain of Fire.
Oh,
And basically,
yes.
So good.
the fire of a male drake fertilizes an egg. So I stole that idea, and so basically they bring female drake eggs to the island, and then the males put their breath
Rain
weapon
of
on
Fire
it and
is
fertilize
This is
it.
the
I'm
kind
gonna
of
watch that now.
TTRPG dragon
Breath
knowledge that we
weapon.
need at the top of a podcast. This is like we need someone who's pulling references to movies that
Let's talk
only our
about
dads
Drake
watch.
Spoinkin.
I watched it for free on YouTube. The like right before that, I encountered this problem, and I was like, "Oh, cool." And I saw it once when I was a kid, but I definitely didn't pick up on like the logistics
Right.
of fertilizing
Convenient.
dragon eggs at the time. But
Should we?
What does that say about dragon breath?
Technically, like snakes have two pink, so it
They
makes
do.
sense. The masculine emphasis, I think, because not all of them need to be males, right? So like they kind of, if they need it, they have it. If they don't, they don't.
yeah, and then so he moved on from Waltz and went to Jules. He picked up on like he's from Sidonia, he's a bard, he's exiled, Black Dawn, Septum Solus. This tune he keeps playing, and he's like, "Where'd you learn this?" And he went back and found essentially that he never learned this tune, and he just like innately knew it, and he seemed very offended by the fact that Jules just plays it to crowds like it's some common melody for silver and gold. And then he says, "But you've never completed it, and I will ensure you never do." And then so I don't know if you have any concerns about that, Adam. or-
Adam,
I mean, if I can survive a T-Rex, then
Yeah.
nothing can kill me, right?
Yeah.
the
Oh,
T-Rex
yeah.
could,
Right?
but the T-Rex could kill
Technically,
you.
you
Like that
didn't
was the
survive the
I was about to say.
T-Rex.
The,
But I survived. But I survived. So,
As long as Tuff's around to shoot a
let me
live
have it,
shot at you.
guys. Let me have it.
no, it's yeah. Go ahead.
No, if you're
I
gonna say
really
something.
don't have
Okay.
much more to say about it. Just please don't kill me.
Yeah, and then he moved on to Tuff, and then we spent a little more time with Tuff because we also don't
That's
know a lot
me.
about Tuff. Yeah, because he hasn't had an origin episode. So yeah, he's like going through Tuff's memories, and he finds the one where Tuff has the journal that he did, like that has the schematics to the Arcanor that he chose not to discard. So he got to see the schematics to the Arcanor through your memory that you're looking at in your journal.
Uh-oh.
And he's like,
Uh-oh.
"Ooh, Arcanor." And then he's like, "Interesting. What else did Dunadas teach you?" And he found like a memory of you as a kid. You're trying to play with other kids, and they're basically making fun of you for being a robot and keep saying stuff like you have no soul, like I was just being a total jerk. And then so you run off crying, and you go talking to Dunadas in his lab. He's like working in there drinking coffee. And then you basically asked him like, "Is it like, why'd you make me? Is it true I don't have a soul?" And he knelt down and was like very kind to you and told you that you do have a soul basically. And when he said so, he pointed at your power core, and then Gotham's like, "Oh, your soul, interesting." And then he like entered your power core essentially, and you were
Jeez.
like observing
So
this.
invasive.
Yeah, this guy's, you have no control. And you like observed without actually like being present, if that makes sense. Like you're just kind of like in like viewing it, but you're not there. And you see him talking to a tall, rugged catfolk, and he addresses him as Raucus, and Raucus addresses this guy as Gothram. And you basically get the sense that Raucus is a keeper who was killed by Gotham, but has yet to like leave this life, like existing as a spirit in some way and hiding in your power core, which is apparently a phylactery of some kind, as Raucus said, something like that. And then you also get the sense that Gotham should be dead too, because Raucus is like, "Oh, you have endured as well." And then he basically learned that he's in allegiance with Droga, which you learned about in Dax's Origins, who is this like spirit that resides over Droga Dune, and like all these people serve him. And Droga means death, and so it's kind of making sense like where Gotham's getting his power from. And you get the sense that Gotham basically said that Droga used to be a keeper, but then he died, and he inherited Droga's keeper lineage. And I'll kind of fly through it, but you get the sense that destroying Lorthal is important in the sense that something bad may happen on the planet, because of the fact it has nodes, but they can't destroy nodes because there's not enough old magic to do so. So they decided to destroy the planet. Arrakis is like, don't do that. Give these guys another chance to stop it. And he's like, well, why would I do that? And he's like, well, I'll show you where the this piece to something called the Elder Blade is. And he's like, well, I have the compass from Jules' origin. And he's like, and it doesn't exist. And he's like, well, I know where you can find it. And he's like, say that to me in Elder so I know it's true, which is implying that if you say something in Elder, you cannot lie. So he's like, I will do that if you let them go and give them a chance to return the Florida Vita. And then Gotham says he will do that in Elder.
So just to recap for my understanding, and
Just
maybe
to recap the recap.
others' understanding as well.
Go ahead,
So
Ryan.
So something bad, quote unquote, is going to happen on Lorthal. Gotham's solution to that is destroy Lorthal, which is why he took the Florida Vita and wants La Ciudad de los Nubes to crash down on the planet, thus destroying it. But Rackus, the kitty cat living inside the robot kitty cat,
Yep.
doesn't like that idea and thinks that they should be given a second chance. And so to barter with Gotham, he says, I know where you can find this thing that you want.
Yeah, so he's basically saying like I'm sure the keepers can find another way to stop the thing that could happen without destroying Lorthal. And Gotham
I see.
was like, all right, well, but what happens if they fail? And he's like, well, if you're as powerful as you think you are, if you have the Elder Blade, then he called them the Alvirium should be no match for you at that point anyway. And
The
Gotham's like,
Alvirium are the bad thing that's going to happen?
potentially, yeah. And then Gotham's like, all right, I guess that's good enough.
Cool.
He,
I have a little bit of fun behind the scenes tidbit to share, if I may.
okay.
Go ahead.
In Terran's campaign that we ran, I had a character that was named Roxas. And so when Zach introduced this character as Rackus, I thought that was him like doing a little nod to Terran's campaign. Because in Terran's campaign, Zach would always mispronounce Roxas and like never know how it was supposed to be. So I thought his attempt at trying to put Roxas in this campaign was him again mispronouncing it as Rackus. But it turns out Zach had no idea and didn't.
Yeah, it
remember
just
any
proves
of
how
that.
like little I remembered his name, that I like always got it wrong when we played, and I didn't even realize how close it was when I inserted him. But that character had like a name change halfway through or something.
Yeah,
and I knew his first name, and then I couldn't when it became a different name. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, you just refused to know the second name.
I get
Yeah.
it.
So then, and then you also noticed the voice of the spirit was like the voice that came out of you when you were on the node. So this guy's like been living in there, and then yeah. So then he agreed to that, and then Gotham left your mind, and then the spirit stepped out of you, and it was standing in front of everyone, and basically said like, "You guys aren't keepers yet, but you could be. I don't know who chose Ryu, but I'm saying that Tough can be your fourth in his stead." And he told you what the words you heard when you went through the node meant, and he said Septum Solus Tradessus Undivig Uner Tantum, which means seventh from the sun, 13, 19 only together, and gave you that info. And then he looked to Renard and says, you are not chosen by keepers, but by fate, so consider yourself the keeper of Ciudad de la Nubes. Nyacor's not coming this time. These disciples are all you have, and with them you must succeed. And then he said, and remember, the Florida Vita may reside in the clouds, but it was given to all killed Dora.
So who is Nyakor?
Nyakor is a keeper from like a long time ago that created the Florida Vita to save Renard's homeworld, like in antiquity, like ancient times.
So does Reynard know who Nyakor is?
Yeah, it's part of like his like the traditional history like of his
Okay.
people.
So he's essentially
the
saying like
culture.
there is no like bona fide keeper showing up this time. It's like you got to get this done. Like you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, there ain't no cavalry coming to save you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
And
you
then-
said none of us know that Gotham went into all our
Yeah.
minds. We only know
Or
he went
if
into
we do know he
our
went,
own.
we don't know what conversations he had in everybody's mind.
For sure. So none of you know what Gotham what happened in Tough's mind except Tough.
Dang.
But
and
do we
then-
know that he went into everyone's mind or just our own?
What?
Do we know that he went into everyone's mind? We just don't know
I
what
mean, not
took
yet,
place
because the
in there?
session essentially. I
Okay.
mean, you might assume they had a similar experience.
Yeah, probably. I guess we'd probably assume that, right?
Yeah.
Did it happen instantaneously, like he was in all of our minds at the same time?
It would probably feel like that because you were like locked and frozen, and
Okay.
then it just kind of
Wow.
invaded.
Now the cat guy that was stuck
Rackus.
Tough.
inside, Tough, Rocky. Because he addressed Renard, does that mean that when he like came out, that he addressed all of us and
Yeah.
we could see him?
Yeah, then everything he
Okay.
just said, and in front of all you saw like a spirit, but he was like tethered to Tough.
Sure.
And then he detached from Tough and started to get absorbed by Gotham, and then Tough just
Okay.
fell over like lifeless.
So
I
the
just wanted a reminder. It's been a while
the,
since we
the
recorded that
like the
episode,
keeper
so-
connection to
Yes,
Tough
yeah.
was established by him like stepping out of Tough. We all
Yep,
clocked
Mhm.
that. Okay.
for sure.
Okay.
Question:
What?
Go ahead,
Can
Ryan.
someone get a backpack that Tough can hang out in?
Like C-3PO on
Yeah, just
Chewbacca.
strap him to the
With-
Wookiee's
oh, with
back.
the clear little
backpacks that you
domes,
see
like
people
those
wearing?
cat
Yeah, I want a
backpacks?
clear
Yeah.
little dome that I can look out of.
Perfect.
What about a stroller? Best I can do is a stroller.
No.
I mean,
Well,
can't
work.
Tough just like suck his arms and legs in and then
Fold in
Be a
like a
backpack,
become a
transformer.
backpack himself?
Okay, he turns into a little
Like, doesn't he just
a little
doesn't he
roly.
just reach behind him and his legs just go behind him and
That's
he grabs his
robotist of you
ankles?
to
Could he
assume
transform
we
into a
can all
little
do that.
suitcase with rollers that you guys could kind of like just pull? along?
That is
could work, yeah.
robotist.
Well, I mean, we'll find out
Josh.
because we're about to play, right? So, yeah, let's see
Are
if
we?
let's see if that happens. And
Everyone, get your D&D music ready.
yeah, get ready.
Pathfinder music. Sorry.
And we will see you next time, mortals.
awkward.
Immortals, 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 immortals.